evidence. I know a lot of you do text evidence with kids, and then do some sharing with the class, right? And so we want to think about like how, according to, let me go back. Can I go back? Yes, these 3 considerations, how might we start to actually differentiate this experience for the students in our class? And so I'm going to model thinking about these 3 considerations in just a sec. And actually, if Erin, you could kind of monitor the chat. As I'm going through this, if you all have any other ways, according to these 3 considerations, that you might differentiate that experience, please chat that out. And Erin can kind of monitor, and we can generate more than just what Erin and I have thought about here. Let's see if my animations work here. Oh no, I got to go back. Okay, right. So flexible grouping, if we're thinking about that reading experience we just talked about, we can ask these questions, right? Do all the students need or want to read about the library, right? Is that you know, the article that every single kid gets? Could the student groups read something different and have more interest, right? Could you differentiate in that way? Could we actually group students by reading skill they're working on to read this text, right? Thinking about, like, I have some kids really working on vocab, some are main idea, some are questioning strategies. Could we do that kind of grouping? Could we group students who love to create visuals together, right? This is getting at that learner variability. Not that it's their learning style, but you know, they're visual, right? Like they love to draw, they love to kind of just create different things, right? In that sense. And so could we group them that way? Next consideration here, so these tiered or varied texts, right? Here are some questions we could ask about that experience. Could the library article have a summary events box or less dense text, right? So this idea of actually scaffolding into a text for kids, so that they actually have the text that everyone gets, but there's some scaffolds attached, right, that help them make deeper meaning. Could one group read the actual city council proposal? Right. So if you have a group that you're like, you know what, they don't necessarily even need the news article. They could read something a city council wrote because they're really at an advanced level. Maybe that could be a group, right? And so you have kids working on kind of the same idea, but with different texts. And then finally, this 3rd consideration, flexible use of a strategy or skill. Can some students work on developing questions while others work on main idea, right? So again, thinking about like kids needing different things in terms of their skills. Can the students work with different graphic organizers? Does it always have to be this 2-column note sheet, right, with questions and text evidence? Can they be working with different visuals? Can some students be focusing on sort of vocab development, right, as they're moving through the text as well? So again, kind of different reading strategies or skills here. Do we have other ideas here that we've missed in terms of how we might differentiate this experience? I don't know if anyone chatted anything out. Oops. All right, and go back. Any other thoughts here? Because y'all are going to get into groups in a second and practice with different scenarios. Okay, or questions about these 3 considerations. Great. So Cassie says grouping by personality, chatty versus not chatty. I love that. Like that's super interesting, right? And Kevin, using Google Classroom to assign the different level texts. Love that, because as you all will see, we really want you all to think about, okay, translating this into an online environment. Can the tech actually help us to do differentiation? Potentially when we were in person, we had more trouble, right? That's also a possibility. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's get into some groups to do a little more practicing with some more scenarios. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break into 4 different groups, because I think there'll be, I don't know, 5 or 6 per group. So I'll talk about this note in just a second, but in your group, click onto this shared Google Doc, and what you will see, we have our 3 considerations here for a reminder, and then there's 4 different there's gonna be 4 different breakout rooms. Each room is gonna be assigned a scenario, okay? So depending on where you're at with your teaching, a K2 example, 3-6, 7-8, and then more high school. You are going to do what we just did, right? Try to differentiate this reading experience given flexible grouping, tiered varied text, or flexible use of strategy or skill. And then there's some space here for remote and physically distanced considerations, right? So Kevin just gave a great example of like, here's how we might consider this, you know, given a remote environment, Google Classroom, and that kind of thing. In order to get into the breakout room you want to get to, that's why we made everybody a co-host, and we'll make sure that everybody is. I know a couple of people joined a little bit late. You're first gonna be put into a random. You need to join that room, even if it's not the one you want to go to, and then you can move yourself out of that room and go to the one you want to go to. Okay, so just again, join the one you're assigned at first, and then move yourself out and go to the one that matches your grade level, or just the scenario you're really interested in, right, too. So if you're a K teacher, but that 7-8 example is super interesting to you, go for it. Any questions about your work together? Or Erin, did I miss anything?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. So as I'm doing these breakout rooms, everyone can navigate to that shared Google Doc. That would be great. Erin, would you mind checking to make sure everyone's a co-host? I think you can.
Yes, I can see that. Let me make sure.
Perfect.
Oh, here. Oh. I think Angela just hopped on, and maybe.
Okay. I won't do it until everyone's, or speak up if you don't see yourself as a co-host. That might be helpful too. I got Angela, Erin. I think I got her.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So there'll be 5 per room. Remember, go into your first room and then go to the one you want to go to. All right, welcome back. I think we have everybody rolling back in. We're gonna have you in some smaller groups in just a sec to actually talk about the reading instruction you might be doing in the next few days or next week. I know some of you already started that conversation, which is great. Excuse me. But I don't know if Erin, you heard anything that was interesting coming out of these groups. The one kind of barrier I was hearing a little bit over and over, which was good to kind of surface, right, is like, what if we have to have whole group instruction right now, right? We're teaching remote, like we're not doing a lot of small groups just because of the structure of things. What does it mean to differentiate when you're just doing one thing for all the kids, right? You have one text, one, you know, so I just think that's like a meaty question for us to continue to think about, you know, the next, for the time remaining here. Erin, did you hear anything interesting or sticky for us to ponder?
Yeah, just a lot around how to catch all students. I mean, I don't know if that's the right term, but really catch, reach, provide instruction for the margins when, you know, specifically around the content you're teaching, or if you're using one text. So it's really like at the core of what differentiation is, that question of how do we reach students? And maybe it doesn't happen just at the lesson level, but it happens in a series of lessons, because we're not saying that this is an easy task by any means to master differentiation. It is a, I don't want to call it a monster, but it's a biggie, you know. It's like there's a lot that goes into it. So I think it's a valid concern and question to think about, and really comes at the core of what this session is about. That was one thing that I think came out across, a lot of it.
Yeah, for sure. So let's do this. Let's get a little bit digging deeper into our own planning, our own reading instruction. So you're going to be thrown in a breakout room with a couple other people. Think about these 3 considerations and the questions we've been asking around them. Erin and I chatted about this. I think if you can sort of hold on to one of those considerations and use it as sort of a tool moving forward, maybe 2, don't try to do all 3, right? I mean, that might just be a lot to try to like differentiate one lesson with all 3 considerations, right? We've been practicing that way, but hold on to one. If you're like, you know what, I could really improve how I group kids and the creativity around that, great. That's a great, direction to go for your differentiation. So. Okay, so let me do these breakout rooms again. Again, you're just gonna be with a random couple other folks. They may be in very different grade levels as you and content areas. That could be really interesting though. So let that be kind of generative for you. All right, give me a second. Create. All right, I think there's gonna be one room of 4 people. Actually, let me do this. Erin, let me move you to room 1. Oops. Okay. If you go to the bookmark here, yeah, some folks are already filling this in. You'll just put your name here. One thing you want to try next week, and then one longer term adjustment you're hoping to make. And that might mean like next year, I'm really hoping to do this, or it might be like in March, I'm really hoping to do this, right? So we'd love to have just kind of a collection of what people are thinking right now. And you can also then look at what the other groups have been doing and reach out to folks. If you are interested in what they're thinking about, you can comment on this document. Or reach out to your ally if you see like someone else in another group have an amazing idea and you're like, I want to talk to that person. Let your ally know, and we can you can track those people down and have you connected. Yeah, other than that, thank you all so much for your participation and thinking tonight. I love getting to work with different teachers. I love my teachers too. Many of you are on this call, but it's cool to work with different teachers in the program as well. So thanks for your work tonight. And we are all good. I think, Erin, you do need to go, so thank you for your work and thinking tonight too. I'll stay on the call for, sorry, Erin, go ahead.
No, so I was just gonna say it was great to see you all and meet some other teachers that I haven't worked with. Have a good night. I'm gonna jump off. Bye.
Bye.